It may only have been preseason, but Zion Williamson gives Pelicans fans something to be excited for. Him and Murphy III. We're going to talk a little bit about that. Plus, the Suns get a preseason victory over the Los Angeles Lakers, and they played their starter pretty heavy minutes. We're going to talk about all that, plus the Rockets' search for a fifth starter and more on today's Locked On NBA Game Night.
When that final buzzer rings, you know it's time for Locked On NBA Game Night. All the post-game reactions to every game across the league, every single night, with insights only the hosts at Locked On can provide. It's the true NBA fans' one stop for all the action. Every game, every night. It's Locked On NBA Game Night. Tipping off now.
What's going on? Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Locked On NBA Game Night, member of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every single day and every game, every night, even during the preseason. My name is Hayes. I'm one of the hosts of Locked On Bulls. We got a number of things to get into today. Basketball's back, y'all. Basketball is back, and that's kind of the most important thing right now, is that we're getting actual basketball games to talk about. And one of those games went down at 6 o'clock in the morning, depending on the time zone that you're in, on Friday when the Pelicans took on Melbourne. And this was a game where, of course, everybody was kind of waiting and seeing what the new look Zion was. Now, this is not against NBA competition, so there's that part of it. Take that part with a grain of salt. But for what it's worth, Zion in this game, in 16 minutes, went 5 of 8 from the field for 15 points, 5 assists, 2 rebounds, 2 steals. He did have 2 turnovers in the game, but he finishes with a plus-minus of +10. And the thing in this game is just seeing what Zion looks like after the weight loss, right? After slimming down, and Slim Zion really looked good, right? He maintained a lot of the kind of physicality that you've come to expect from Zion Williamson, which is really good to see that part of it. He looked a lot lighter on his feet. He just looked a lot more. It's like there was more fluidity to his game, right? Now, again, not NBA competition. So that's going to play a part into this also, where, people are going to wait to see what he looks like against actual NBA teams. They have another, preseason game overseas. They're going to play 2 preseason games against actual NBA teams. But, to see Zion look this way, if any part of this maintains for the season, and keep in mind, part of the weight loss as well is that it's built around helping to keep him more healthy. So if you're talking about a Zion that is still pretty dominant, stays healthier, and it has less weight, which then means less impact on those joints, hopefully that's going to help propel Zion to have one of the more healthy seasons, of his career. And if that does happen, that's exactly what Joe Dumars wants. That's exactly what this Pelicans, franchise is for. Will Green, the coach, that they're looking for. For Zion, Joe Dumars tasked Zion with a lot. They want to see Zion mature. They want to see Zion really step up. And if not, like, they have that out every single offseason where they can come off that contract. And so, all the eyes are on Zion and what he really does this season. And hopefully Zion himself understands the seriousness of this moment. In no way is Zion's NBA career going to be over with, right? There's going to be a team with the talent that Zion has and how dominant he looks when he's healthy. There's always going to be a team willing to bite on Zion. There's always going to be a team willing to give Zion an opportunity. There's always going to be those chances are always going to be there for Zion, at least for the future, right? Like, of course, they get less and less as you have longer and more injury concerns. But, if he wants to make this thing work in New Orleans, this is the opportunity that he really has to kind of change the perception around Zion Williamson. And the hope is that he's going to be able to do that. So at least 1 preseason game down. He also got to the free throw line 7 times, which I did not mention. He's 5 of 7 from the free throw line. And that gave Pelicans fans a lot to be excited for. But another player did as well, because I don't want to go out this segment without also talking about Trey Murphy III. He played 19 minutes. He went 7 of 13 from the field, 2 of 2 from the free throw line for 18 points, 1 rebound, 3 steals in that time as well, that he had, 2 turnovers. Had a plus-minus of -1, but he scored those 18 points in 19 minutes, and he also put on the show. And the Pelicans are this interesting team, right? Because I think this is going to be a fun team to watch. All things considered, it could be a fun thing to watch. You got Trey Murphy, you got Zion, you got Jordan Poole there as well. They started Kevon Looney in this game with Sadiq Bey as well. Eve Missy came off the bench for 20 minutes. He went 3 or 4 for 6 points in this game. But you also got You got 11 points from Jordan Hawkins. Jeremiah Fears, a young player that, hopefully is going to eventually excel on this team. He went 3 of 15 in this game as well. But like Jose Alvarado gave his 11 points. So the Pelicans are this team that are trying to figure out what their next steps are going to be. And those next steps could be, do we focus more on going younger? We know that they traded a trade that's been called one of the worst trades of the offseason to get Derek Queen in here. That's another player that eventually you're going to want to take a look at and, see what his future is. You got Eve Missy, who finished the season strong for you last year. You got Jeremiah Fears in here. You're a young rookie as well. So they have some interesting pieces on this team, and seeing how it all comes together this season is going to be the fun part about all of this. Because, I'm not saying that I have the Pelicans pegged to win 50-plus games or anything, but, if Zion does stay healthy, the last time Zion was healthy, the Pelicans, they were a playoff team. And so, it's all about finding out what your foundation is. And I think really wholeheartedly that's the place right now that the Pelicans are in, is that they are trying to figure out, especially with new front office and all this type of thing, what's the foundation? What way are we going to go with this? Are we going to try to build? Do we feel the runway is long enough and doesn't make sense to try to build this team around Zion that can go in the playoffs? Can we do enough there, or do we pivot? And if we pivot, what does that pivot then look like? So it is what it is. But Zion brings up a lot of hope for Pelicans fans. He caught an alley-oop pass from Sadiq Bey in this game as well. That was beautiful. You love to see Zion get up like that, and we know the physicality that Zion can bring to a game. But this is a team with some very interesting young pieces on it. Herb Jones, I didn't even mention him, right? And so if Zion can stay healthy, and let's say the Pelicans do look like a team that can at least make the play-in this year, make it interesting, right? Or whatever happens there, they're a team that I won't say like right there to compete for like a title or anything, but they're a team that has a direction at that point. And that direction has been a little bit shaky because it's built on a shaky foundation with Zion and his inability to stay healthy, which has been a big part all year for Zion, and his whole career for Zion Williamson has been the problem of if he can stay healthy, and if he's going to stay healthy, can he do it long enough at the right times for this team to really try to turn something? So we'll see. But just to kind of zoom out on looking at the big picture, let's zoom back in. Zion looked really good. And if this continues throughout preseason, I don't know how protective the Pelicans plan to be with playing him as far as anything on back-to-backs during the season. I don't even know if they've made that determination yet, but they are looking for Zion to show some leadership. They are looking for Zion to see what does he show, because if Zion does step up, that does provide some clarity on what you need to go to. And so we'll see what's going to happen there. And if Zion can do that, if he can get it done, great. But there's questions on that as things stand right now. So, I mean, that question just remains. If this is going to be a path for Zion to really be more healthy, you got pieces here. You have pieces on this team. Again, I'm not trying to sell it as like you have pieces that can turn you into a contender, but you have an interesting roster, a nice mix of youth. I think the fit could be pretty well, like Zion, Jordan Poole, not to put a lot on Jordan Poole. I don't know how much they really hope that Jordan Poole is going to turn into something for them, but Jordan Poole hasn't really played, since leaving Golden State with a player like Zion. And what does that do now for him to get into a role where he's not just jacking up shots and not just expected to lose, 50 games on the season? So, and Pelicans fans, as long as I don't know what the tide is, if the tide is turned on Zion, if, there are people that still really believe in what Zion could be overall, or if people are kind of over this experiment and want to see the Pelicans just go in a different direction and move off of Zion. But you have such a unique player that when he's on the court, he's dominant. And I know that sounds a lot like how we talk about Joel Embiid, and that's what you're trying to avoid here, right? And the Sixers are trying to find their own path forward with Joel and the problem that he has going on and stuff like that with his health. And, I think that 76ers team is also trying to get to a place where the roster is good enough to compete in the East, even when Embiid isn't healthy. It's a little bit more difficult to do that in the West without having a piece like Zion Williamson there for you, but you could try. And, if Zion does stay healthy, that solves a lot of that question, because then you have a transcendent player there that's just so dominant when he's on the court that it makes the game easier for other people around him. And that's just what they're hoping to find there. And hopefully Zion can be that. He can start finding his way to get healthy and understands why conditioning is really important for him. So, all right. But with that said, next up, we're going to be talking about the Suns and their win over the Lakers. But first, we got to get into a message from Monarch Money. Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there's Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or phone. Monarch is built for people with busy lives. If you put off organizing your finances, Monarch is for you. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control without ever touching a spreadsheet. And the thing that I love the most about Monarch Money is the fact that you can not only track your individual accounts, but you can track shared accounts as well and set goals between those accounts. So you have a full kind of overview on everything that you're doing and what you're planning with by yourself and with others. Don't let this financial opportunity slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONNBA. More game night coming up next. All right, everydayers, I just want to thank you guys for tuning in to Locked On NBA Game Night every single night. It's every game, every night. With that said, the Suns. We got actual preseason basketball between two NBA teams where the Phoenix Suns took on the Los Angeles Lakers in this game. And this game actually was a pretty entertaining game from just the point. And listen, I can fully admit, maybe I'm just thirsty and dying for some actual basketball, right? But the Suns played their starters considerable minutes last night. When you look at Devin Booker, 25 minutes he played. Grayson Allen with 22 minutes. Also Iguodala with 26 minutes. Dylan Brooks with 25 minutes. Now, you didn't see, some of the other players. Mark Williams didn't play in this game. Kaman Malawak didn't play in this game, right? Some other pieces. You got one of your other rookies in Rasheer Fleming. He played 12 minutes in this game also. And so this is a Suns team that is still trying to figure out what they're going to look like. No Jalen Green. So you were missing some key pieces in this one. Jalen Green, Mark Williams, they project to be starters in this lineup for this Suns team. But it was just exciting to see that many starters play that heavy of minutes. I mean, when you look at it on the flip side of the Lakers, right? Like Austin Reeves played 21 minutes, which is solid in that one, but you didn't get any LeBron in this game. You didn't get any Luka in this game, anything like that, whereas the Suns put out their franchise player in Devin Booker. And I think that just goes to show the different places that these franchises are in, right? Like, or these teams are in this season. The Lakers aren't, like, not to say that they're the biggest, contenders in the Western Conference either, but they kind of understand what their goals are this season, right? They have, of course, Luka. You brought in DeAndre Ayton, who, only scored 1 point and only took 2 shots in 18 minutes, but he did have 8 rebounds, 1 steal, 2 blocks, right? Bringing some of that rim protection that the Lakers are going to hope to see from him in the regular season. But the Suns, they have a lot that they're still trying to figure out, and they're trying to figure out who and what's going to be in what places on their roster. They got a lot of new pieces on this team as well after trading Kevin Durant. And so Devin Booker goes 8 of 19 for 24 points in 25 minutes, puts up a lot of points and not really that much shots. 24 points off 19 shots is pretty decent. 7 assists as well for him, 1 block. And then you got 13 points from Grayson Allen. Dylan Brooks gives you 10. These are players that we know for sure are going to be part of that rotation for the Suns. And they're also hoping that Ryan Dunn steps up. Some this year. He did play 22 minutes, only 4 points, but he was a plus 19 on the game for this one for the Phoenix Suns. He had 8 rebounds as well, 3 assists, 1 steal, only 1 turnover for me. Did have 5 fouls, which you got to get that tightened up some. But this game for the Suns was just, you could tell that the coach is trying to figure out who, what, when, where, and how, basically, right? With this team, how are we playing? A guy like Rasheer Fleming, for example, who I think, as a 3-and-D player in this league, he has tons of potential as 3-and-D in this league. He's working that part out. But he is raw. And in some certain areas, he was dealing with the injury leading into the draft as well. So you got to figure that part out. But it was good to see him get out there for that many minutes. You had Nick Richards as well, played 12 minutes in this game. Kaman played 10. So, you got that part of it. Which is good, right? You're trying to figure out that back end of the bench, your future bigs you're trying to figure out. And preseason, that's really what it's built for. A team like the Suns, to try to find a diamond in the rough. And make no mistake, that's what they're trying to find, right? I know there's a lot of confidence from some, within the Suns that they have something going on there. I think this team is going to struggle this year, personally. And that's not just a knock on Devin Booker or knock on the roster. I just think you don't have a lot of balance. Some of the same things balance-wise that the Suns were missing last season with like not having an actual point guard is still evident. And, I think they're going to have to solve that. Now, can Jalen Green or Devin Booker step up enough to do that? I mean, there's always a chance, right? I just think when you look at like Jalen Green, for example, like he's never really, been that type of guard, right? That facilitates. And I think they do need that. I think when we've seen over Devin Booker's career, one of the best seasons that he had was with Chris Paul. And I think you need, like you've already seen a little bit of that blueprint on how to get the best out of Devin Booker. That's why it's kind of mind-boggling that they still still failed to really get him that help that he needs there. And I don't know why that is. I don't know. It is what it is there. Maybe it's just something that I'm missing, but they got to find that. And I think that they will. I think that they'll find that path eventually, and they'll get there. But, this is an important season for the Suns because between their ownership and the Ishbias and, talking about, learning from the past mistakes that they made with putting the Bradley Beal and Kevin Durant team together and how much they really like spending money doesn't mean that you're going to be a good team in the league. Right. And that's something that, a more experienced owner may have known, but they got to get the right people in the right building. And it seems like they're starting to be a little bit more aware of the shortcomings that they've had, and they got to get that together. So we'll see. That's all I can say with the Suns. Now, flip side with the Lakers side of things, it's good to see Austin Reeves look good. He put up 20 points in 21 minutes. It was 6 of 11 from the field. But the thing with Reeves, we know Reeves can put up points. 3 rebounds, 2 assists in this game. Like, we know that Austin Reeves can put up points. I think the thing that the Lakers need to find and strike is better balance between LeBron, Luka, and Austin Reeves this season, and how the role players that they have around that help find that better balance with those guys. They barely finished with a positive plus minus when those 3 players were on the court last season. For the majority of the time there, they were negative when they were on the court, all 3 of those guys together. Now, there are reasons to that. You make a big midseason trade, it drastically changes how you play. It's not like you added a role player that kind of comes in and just fits with what you're doing there. No, it was a pretty big change to the way that you were playing. And so, hopefully an off season together, a training camp together, you get over some of those humps there. And, we shall see what happens there. DeAndre Ayton is hopefully going to be a big piece for them there. Jared Butler, Rui Hachimura, having those guys, how they interchange there is going to be important. Jackson Hayes had himself a dunk in this game as well. He played 17 minutes and had 7 points. How he looks now coming off the bench for this team is going to be important too. So they got some things that they're still trying to figure out. Bronny played 24 minutes for whatever that's worth. He was 1 of 12 from the field, 5 of 6 from the free throw line though for 8 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists from him. Dalton Connect played 26 minutes. He went 2 of 10 for only 6 points as well, 1 of 7 from the 3-point line. So these are guys too, especially Dalton Connect, like, you're hoping that you get more from Dalton because his 3-point shooting, his ability in theory to stretch the floor could definitely help him some considerably. So you're hoping that you see that a little bit, but nothing's guaranteed there either. So we'll see how those things shake out for that part and for that team as well, because we're trying to figure that out, right? But the Lakers and Suns, fun basketball. I mean, really, just when it all comes down to it, it's just good to get basketball back out there, man. And now that we're back in game mode, where we're actually going to be talking about games every game night now, I'm excited for it. And I hope that a lot of basketball fans are excited for what this season could be, because this could be a really exciting season for basketball fans. It could be an exciting season for fans of each team. And this is where this is where most people are going to be the most optimistic. Is right now, right? Some are going to start off the season pessimistic, but this is typically where everybody's the most optimistic, is right now, because everybody has a chance. Everybody's record is even. So, we'll see what that is. But from that, let's talk about a team that I still am very high on. I know that there's still some big questions about them after the injury to Fred VanVleet, but we're going to talk about the Rockets and their search for their 5th starter. But first, we got to get into a message from FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer that you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love how FanDuel gives me so many ways to play. I've built parlays, tried player props, and even followed the live lines during games. It makes watching football even more exciting when you've got a little something riding on the action. Whether you're a casual fan or love diving into the stats, FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download FanDuel app today and get started. We're Locked On Game Night coming up next. All right, everydayers. Last topic of the day before we get out of here. The Rockets, man. I've bought in on the Rockets, and I've been talking about them, hyping them up all offseason. And then the injury to Fred VanVleet happened, right? And, that's already a shot, a kick in the stomach for this Rockets team that, was hoping they need that leadership. Kevin Durant needs a vocal veteran out there to be a leader, with him. And so that's now already kind of kicked off what the Rockets are going to do. We've heard things that the Rockets plan to give it till about the end of December to take a look at how other guys step up in that playmaking role before they make a decision on if they're going to try to pursue a trade or something like that. Where Ime Udoka was asked about the fifth starter, where he said this: it could be something we looked at regardless of before Fred was injured. It was something that made sense for us, but at the same time, continuity is good and keeping guys confident and not second guessing. It takes some maturity if you want to do that kind of rotational lineup, and some things are beneficial to start that. For the most part, we have 4 guys penciled in, and we'll figure out what to do with the fifth. And so, that's something that that the Rockets have to figure out, right? And who they choose as that fifth starter is going to have different impacts. Now, they have nobody on the roster that I think is going to be in a position to really bring what Fred VanVleet brought to that team. Yes, Reed Sheppard was a really good shooter in college, but he's small. He's more of a combo guard than a straight-up point guard. And defensively, it's going to be a little bit rough for him. Now, luckily, the Rockets are a really good team defense. I don't see those concepts going anywhere for the Houston Rockets, so I see those things staying, right? But you do have a pretty big decision to make there and what you're going to do there. Now, you have Ime Thompson, a two-way player is going to be your best player when it's all said and done. That's what you hope for. You hope that Jabari is going to make a step up. Alperen Şengün is going to make a step up, those type of things. And you're still trying to figure that path out. But whatever the Rockets decide to do with their fifth starter, you're going to get different results in that. Now, Reed Sheppard, on third overall pick, but to me, has not really shown anything that screams NBA player to me yet, right? Now, that's not to say that he can't do that, because we've seen players get off to slow starts in their career and they're fine overall. Acclimating to the NBA game it's different for everybody depending on the position you play and the style that you play. And hopefully Reed Sheppard can figure that out. But I think even if you're looking at Reed being the best version of himself, he's not a straight up point guard. He's more of a combo guard. He's an undersized combo guard. And we've seen those guys work, right? It's not that he can't, but then you have to kind of do the playmaking by committee at that point, because Reed is not the guy that's just going to run your offense in the half court and do those type of things. He can pass, but he's not going to be, what Fred VanVleet was to that team. And, and that's fine, right? So you got to find that. But then they have another wrinkle, right? Dorian Finney-Smith, Ime Udoka said that he's probably not going to be there to start the season for the season opener. He had off-season ankle surgery. So, that's another spot that you have to kind of figure out, that a guy that you were hoping was going to come into your team, be a really good defender and 3-and-D guy off your bench. And it's not a threat that he's not going to be out there he's going to miss a chunk of the season or anything. So you're going to be able to find a weather the storm. It's just that the Rockets are not going to have the smoothest start to the season. And if that happens, great. But what do you figure out throughout that time? And what do you use this preseason period for and the start of the season for, to figure out about your team, to figure out about the balance of your team? That's going to be the part here that really matters to what the Houston Rockets try to do. But still, very, very talented team. Kevin Durant still brings exactly what they needed as far as a go-to scorer at times when they don't have an half-court offense really going. Alperen Şengün is really coming off a Eurobasket where he played amazingly well throughout that Eurobasket tournament. So there's a lot of reason to be excited about him and what his season could look like this year as well. There are a lot of things that could be positive for this team this season. And it's not all just coming down to whether or not, Fred VanVleet's out there, but that helps. That would have helped a lot too. So we'll see what the Rockets do. I personally think that they can only avoid making a trade for so long. They have the assets. They aren't going to, extend a guy like Tari Eason during the season, which could open up to him possibly being moved. at some point this season to get what you're missing. And we know that they have the capital to do it as well. The question for them just is trying to avoid that second tax apron, and how long they can really avoid that is the big question. They've hard capped themselves this year, so they only have so much to play with. But going forward into the following up seasons, what do they do financially? But we shall see. We shall see. But let me know down below how confident you guys are in the Rockets. That's my time for today, guys. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. You guys, Locked On NBA Game Night is available on every podcasting app and platform of your choice, as well as YouTube, the Odyssey app, Amazon Fire TV, Roku TV, Fubo TV. Basically, anywhere you want to get Locked On NBA Game Night, you can get it. We'll see you guys next Friday with Swiper. Peace, y'all.